FromSoft just announced that Elden Ring has officially shipped over 30 million units. And now you know. That's it. That's the news. See you later. Oh, no, wait. I forgot. Can't just give you the news. I'm going to talk about the news. Got to give the opinion part. That's really why you come here. So I naturally have a lot of opinions about this. I myself am a very big fan of FromSoftware and its games. Elden Ring in particular, I would say, is a game that I greatly enjoyed. Still haven't beaten Shadow of the Erd Tree. Boy golly, that last boss. I don't know. I've never completely given up before. I've always wondered if I was going to give up on a FromSoft boss, and then I always end up pulling through, but boy golly, I don't know what to do about this one. Anyway, 30 million units, and sure, that's technically shipped. That's not necessarily sold. You know, it means that the number sold is somewhat less because there are certain, they shipped to retailers. So throughout the world, there are copies of Elden Ring sitting on store shelves or whatever. But like, it's still, it's pretty darn close. It's close enough to 30 million. And the game is going to keep selling. So basically, essentially, it's sold 30 million copies. And that does make it among the best-selling games of all time. I actually pulled up the list here just to see where it was. It's fairly low on the list here on Wikipedia. I don't know exactly how many games is on here. But it's on there. It is on there. Did you know Ark Survival Evolved is the 4th best-selling game of all time? I had no idea. I knew it was popular, sure. But, like, number 4 ever? 79 million for Ark Survival Evolved. That's crazy. I had no idea. No, so yeah, it's pretty low, but on this list, but still on this list at all. It's around, like, Diablo 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Black Myth Wukong. Wow, that sold 30. That fast, too. That's incredible. I'm sorry, this stuff interests me too much. We'll do the whole video just looking at these numbers and games later. Oh, it's right above Super Mario Odyssey with 29. Wow, it's really interesting. 30 million. So that's great. And I mean, I've already talked here and there before about what I think about FromSoftware and these games. And sure, there's the fan in me. There's the fan that is just happy to see that the game is doing so well, happy to see that the company is doing so well, because yeah, I'm crazy about these games. I really am. I started with Dark Souls, and it was really hard, and I didn't get it, and I thought it was kind of stupid, but I just, like, it kept pulling me back, and eventually it clicked, and I got it, and then later Elden Ring. Yeah, like, that was, like, that's what made me fall in love with this style of game completely. Dark Souls kind of primed me, and then Elden Ring was just, that was it. And then from there, I have been slowly going back through the older games. And so yeah, so I am happy to see that these games are doing well, simply because I am a fan of them. But then even further than that, to me, this is a great victory also as, I don't know, as someone who is fascinated by just a lot of, it's game design. It's just like the art form of video games, and then even from a business perspective, I can really appreciate when somebody can create a product that really resonates with a lot of people and accomplishes a lot artistically, and manages to reach a really big audience without just ticking boxes, without trying to be as broadly appealing as possible, without trying to scam people out of their money. Like, it's FromSoft is just, I could go on and on and on, on and on all day about how cool I think that they are. Because, yeah, like, for a brief summary, they made Demon Souls, and it almost didn't get made because people didn't get it. Was it Shuhei Yoshida? I can't remember exactly who, but one of the Sony executives was just like, "This is awful. This is a bad game," and I can see that. I can definitely see that. I was that person when Dark Souls Remastered hit the Switch and I played like the network test. There is that part of me. It's like, oh, this is bad. This is just dumb. Like when you don't get it, you don't get it. And of course, you still see plenty of people who just will play the game and be like, no, this is trash. This is awful. This is overrated. And like, I completely see where you're coming from, because it is an experience. Like, I don't know. You really gotta, never mind. We don't have to go into what makes it work. The point is, I didn't get it, and then I got it. And so it's just so awesome to see this style of game that is so weird and so divisive and so different from most stuff that came before it. You know, when it came out, now obviously it's a whole entire genre, but that's the point. There was this thing, and it was seen as bad, and not a lot of people bought the first few iterations at first because it was so weird, because it was just so divisive and hard to get a handle on. But then, like, Hidetaka Miyazaki, you know, he basically, like, created or helped create this. I mean, it would go on to be a new genre, but at the time it was just a weird idea. But, like, he knew he had something, because he is a genius designer, and he just knew he had something. And whoever could click in to that genre, or that idea, that style, if it clicked really, really hard. And I think he recognized that. And even when other people were saying, like, no, this is bad, it's not selling enough, it's stupid, I played it, it's too hard, he knew he had something, and he kept pushing. And this company just kept going for it, kept iterating on it. They went from Demon Souls to Dark Souls. You know, in Demon Souls, it had its audience, and then Dark Souls had its audience, and that audience grew, and it was getting to the, hey, we actually may have something here, and then it was sequels. And since then, they have only worked on just iterating and improving this formula, which has gotten it into the hands of more and more people. It has just grown. And of course, in the video game industry, and really any entertainment industry, you know, we see companies who are so risk averse. They don't like new stuff. They want to capitalize on the old stuff because it is seen as less of a risk. And so sometimes new stuff will be canceled prematurely, because if they don't see immediate results, then they don't want to bother anymore. But like some of the biggest success stories in history across basically any medium, you've got a thing that's like, you know, maybe it's an okay success, or maybe it's a complete failure, and yet if it gets another chance and the creative team behind it, they get to like foster it and turn it into something big, it just, some ideas have such huge potential, but you have to see it through. You have to actually iterate on it. I mean, just recently, one of the guys who worked on the Ace Attorney series said that like the first game really didn't do that well at all, and Capcom kind of like didn't want to keep doing it, but they tried anyway. They just kept going, and with each new entry, it was just getting a bigger audience. They were making the games better, they were capturing the attention of more people, and that just grew it. And if they had given up on that first game, then there you go. And so now you look at FromSoft, you look at Miyazaki, you look at all the way back at Demon Souls, that could have been it. But they kept pushing, they had something, they fostered it, they developed it, they grew it, and it was just at this boiling point. And they're like, all right, let's take the formula, and let's make it open world, and let's see if we can make it appeal to a lot of people without sacrificing what makes this formula so special, you know. And that's what Elden Ring is. Sure, you've got plenty of fans who, you know, think, oh, I went too far in this direction, or I don't like how broadly appealing it is. I like, yeah, you know, like these games, they get a little bit more approachable with each new one. The old games could be very obtuse and very difficult. So you'll get people who feel one way or another about the way that this formula has gone, who may not like it. But for the most part, though, like I really do believe that Elden Ring holds on to everything that it needs to. You know, it holds on to every little bit of the formula that was the most important, and then just did a bunch of stuff to really open it up to a really broad audience. And the open world wasn't just to get a new audience, it was also just, it felt like the next logical step for the formula, and it really did bring a lot to it. And I don't know, whatever, I could go on about the design of Elden Ring forever, but I just think it was genius. It was too genius. And FromSoft's whole thing is like, they make games, and they don't only make games in this exact genre, and even when they do, like, they deviate. Like Sekiro was a pretty big deviation, but for the most part, you know, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1 through 3, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, they've all got a pretty strong formula to them, and each one, like, they don't iterate humongously. They don't reinvent themselves every time. And, you know, people poke fun at FromSoft for reusing a lot of assets and ideas, and how throughout all of these games, so much of the DNA is identical. And, like, yeah, you could say, oh, you're being lazy or whatever. But I mean, as I've gone on about a lot, I like it when companies are economical. I like it when they can get away with doing less work and the product does not suffer for it at all. You know, like, great. You got to create this game without a ridiculously exploded budget. You didn't have to spend $200 million on it or whatever. You got to save a bunch of money, and you're still giving me a game that I consider like a masterpiece, you know? I mean, if anything, FromSoft fans tend to like the repeated stuff, the reused stuff. We like this sense of familiarity, and there's all sorts of little themes and memes and whatnot that run throughout the games. I don't know. It's just great. So yeah, like, business-wise, I think it's awesome that they had an idea and they just kept pushing it because they knew they had something, and they're just so good at what they do. Like, business-wise, design-wise, just, yeah, as game designers, they're so good at what they do. And they really had something, and and with Elden Ring, it was just like the perfect storm. It was the perfect payoff for all of this stuff that they had been building up to. And, you know, a lot of us were looking forward to the game for a really long time, and they delivered, and they delivered. And it is just crazy to me now, looking back at such humble origins with Demon Souls. And of course, before that, they've been a company for longer. They worked on a bunch of other games before that. But at least, like, this arc, you know, this formula has really become their DNA. It's become their main thing. So just seeing where it came from all the way to now, 30 million copies is really, really, really impressive, especially for a series that started so obtuse, so weird, so hard for people to grasp. How can you possibly take that and develop it into something that reaches so many people, that becomes one of the most popular games of, like, a generation, without letting go of that original identity, without losing sight of what makes the series, the genre itself? I don't know. It's just, it is a success story by every possible measure, every possible metric. It's just an awesome thing. And it makes me very, very happy to see. At this point, I'm really just curious to see how sales are gonna go, like, moving forward. Because they did Elden Ring, that was 3 years ago. And since then, you know, it's gotten DLC, but I don't know the exact numbers for the DLC, and obviously that's going to be less than the base game numbers. And they've done Armored Core, which is not a Souls-like game, and now they're doing Night Rain and Duskbloods, which are multiplayer games, not really, like, traditional. So, like, I really don't know what the next traditional FromSoft Souls-like is gonna look like in terms of sales. We really don't know what their plan is. It doesn't seem like they were really excited to just do an Elden Ring 2. I don't know if the next game is going to be smaller, kind of a return to roots, or something, like, totally different, another, like, kind of a sort of the same but sort of a deviation like Sekiro was. I don't know, but, like, I am so curious. I really cannot wait until they produce another game that's more or less just like a standard Souls-like, whether it is another Elden Ring or something smaller or whatever. I just want to know if they can maintain this growth, you know? Like, they've been growing and growing and growing, and people have just been going back and buying from the backlog from the previous games. And then Elden Ring was this huge explosion, but when something has such a humongous cultural impact. You get a lot of people buying it who, you know, who come away disappointed. I mean, look in the comments of this very exact video. Like, pause right now and scroll down, and you will immediately find someone who has a big, long story about how they heard all the hype, and then they tried it themselves, and they think it's actually the worst game of all time. Like, there are plenty of people who just didn't end up getting it. And because, you know, it's Elden Ring. It's still it's FromSoft. It still is quite difficult, and I'm not just saying that the difficulty is the only reason why someone wouldn't like it. You have perfectly valid reasons to not like it. Fine. I'm just saying, plenty of people came away like, I don't get this at all. So, like, if they did Elden Ring 2 right now, would it sell as much? Would it grow even more, or like would it do less? Because, like, I don't know, 5-10 million of the people didn't end up liking it. I don't know. All I'm saying is I just can't wait to see. Moving forward, what are their games gonna sell like? Is this a peak that they will not be able to achieve again? Is this truly a lightning in a bottle moment? Elden Ring was big and they did grow to that point, but, you know, from there, they can't really expect anything to sell that well again. That was kind of a thing, you know, it was a thing for a moment. Or will the next game sell 40 million copies? I really have no idea.